Hello, my friends. It's Jennifer McCollum here with the Parent Coach Club, and I have the incredible Kate Garzón with me today. Hello, Kate.
Hello, Jennifer.
I am so glad you are coming to us today to talk about a very important subject, which is screen time. Like, hands up, how many people are struggling with the kids on their screens these days? I know we're like still all working from home, all schooling at home, or even maybe part-time. So screen time is a huge issue in my house. So I can't wait to dive into this. I just wanted to mention a little bit about Kate. And then Kate, I want you to tell us more about you. But to introduce Kate, Kate Garzón is a parent educator, parenting coach, and she is the founder of Guided Parenting Support, for short, GPS. So she's going to be our GPS for parenting, right?
That's the plan.
Tell us where to go. I bet you love telling people where to go.
Well, if you ask any of my brothers, they would agree that I love telling people where to go.
Good. Just follow my GPS. All right,
Right.
Kate, tell us how you got to be doing this incredible work.
Well, it's a long story that I will make very short. I've spent the last 35 years pretty much all day, every day with other people's kids. And over that time, through experience, starting as a babysitter and a tutor and a coach and a camp counselor, and then moving into my professional life as a child development specialist, and I was a Montessori teacher for 18 years. I've had the gift of working with so many kids and so many families of all ages. And the thing that always jumped out at me was how much parents care and how badly they wanted to do it well. Everybody wants to raise a good kid who is successful in life. And the definition of that looks different for every family, but at the heart of it, parents want to do this well. And there's so much noise out there, and every kid, as you know, arrives with their own temperament. Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought if I could be that GPS in the passenger seat. Well, parents are in the driver's seat of their own families, but I'm along for the ride, helping them navigate the twists and turns, so that at the end of their 20 years of intense labor and commitment, they have a young adult they can be proud of.
Wow, that is the big goal, isn't it? And I love the work you're doing, and it helps parents really get to that point where they're friends and their kids want to be friends with them when they're adults. I think that's awesome. Okay, so we're talking about screen time today. And we're going to
tech
talk about
devices and all that stuff.
all that stuff. So Kate, I know you have 5 steps you want us to really consider to help us kind of manage these screen time habits in our families. So let's dive right into it. What would be the first thing you're going to tell us to help us manage these screen time habits?
The first thing is to accept that most of us are not tech experts. Most of us are digital immigrants. Anyone who was, born before 1999 probably is a digital immigrant. And so tech can be really scary. And so the first step to kind of welcoming screen time and devices into your home in a healthy way is to appreciate the value it brings to your family and your children, and also to be aware of some of the pitfalls. That's the big number one takeaway.
I think it's interesting because I think in our house, I lean more towards the pitfalls and what if they see this online, and what if they're going on the wrong sites, and, and what if I don't know? And then what if, what if, like, it keeps going and keeps going instead of the benefits. So there are some real benefits of using technology. So I love that that's your first point, and just understanding and accepting like that there are some benefits.
Exactly. We know that, I mean, the pandemic highlighted this more than anything. Connection is a
Mm-hmm.
huge, huge benefit. People, even not necessarily family that lives in other places, but connecting with your neighbors. If, the dead of winter, there wasn't a pandemic safe way to do that. Kids being able to continue going to school, and outside of the pandemic, there are benefits for hand-eye coordination and spatial awareness for kids who play video games, for kids who have social anxiety or difficulty in school. They can create a whole world of connections through people that they meet playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
When you think ahead, I know most people don't want to think about this with their kids, but how many people do you know who've met their spouses online? There are some really beautiful benefits. Kids who are in the hospital can continue to go to school with their classmates, over remote learning. So there's a lot of really good stuff, but we also know there are some dangers. We know for certain that it impacts sleep, and we know for certain that it hits those reward centers in the brain in a way that, I don't like to use the word addiction, but it's similar.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for adolescents where their reward centers are primed for that dopamine hit. So we know that that's there. We don't know a lot of the long-term effects yet on changes of the brain, just because some of that research is still ongoing. But we do know that there are downsides. So the more parents can embrace it and accept that it is a reality of life, and then learn to work with it in their family, I think that the happier and healthier everyone's going to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Such good advice, Kate. Thanks. Okay, what's the second thing you want us to know?
Second point is, now that you've embraced it,
Mm-hmm.
is to connect it to the long-term goals of your parenting.
Mm-hmm.
And we know it doesn't matter where in the world you live, it doesn't matter what language you speak, it doesn't matter your culture, your religion. The goal of parenting is always to raise kids who become adults who are successful in an unknown world.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line for every parent. And if that's the case, and we connect it to device usage and screen time, it means that when those kids are young adults and they're leaving your home and going off into the world, you want them to be prepared to make their own way, to
Mm-hmm.
have a healthy relationship with it. And so, knowing that tech isn't going away, parents really do have three choices in how they want to handle it. They can either completely ignore that it exists and keep their family away from it entirely, which we know is going to have impacts down the road.
Mm-hmm.
They can set really, really strict boundaries and guidelines on it, and try to control every single thing, which we also know is going to have impacts down the road. Or they can bring it into what their family values and how their family kind of operates on a day-to-day basis in a collaborative way with their kids.
That's giving me a lot to think about. All right, what's the third tip that you have for us?
So the third tip is very connected to the second tip, and it's looking at that, at your screen time and device usage as an extension of your family's values.
Mm-hmm.
I hear a lot from clients things like, if my daughter eats her dinner, she gets the iPad as a reward. Or my son was disrespectful and I took his iPad away, and now he's really mad at me and he's still being disrespectful. And those are examples of the second category I talked about, trying to keep those really, really strict boundaries on screen time. And it becomes the go-to for kind of rewards and punishments. But if you as a family, and you can start this really, really little, if as a family you have discussions and conversations about where are the places in our home and the times in our home where none of us will be on devices, right? Mealtime is a really good example. Before bed, Sunday afternoons when it's raining out and everyone wants to be off in their corner, texting on their phones, setting up places and spaces that are device free for everyone in the home, and having the kids involved in those conversations, because that starts to allow families to open up those conversations. When you look at what your family values, right? For some families, they're really outdoorsy. Other families are very into exercise. Others are very into art, creativity, drama, reading. Every family should have everybody involved in household chores and responsibilities. So if you sit down as a family and start looking at, okay, what are the things we have to get in our day, right? We value sleep, we value mealtime together, we value chores, et cetera, et cetera. If you look at that collectively, there's probably not a ton of time left in the day that needs to be kind of controlled. If there's only an hour left in the day, that's easy. Go ahead and have screen time. So if you look at it in a big picture way, rather than I, as the parent, am going to control, you get X amount of time per day, it just changes the tone around everything.
That is beautiful. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm changing everything that I do. Already, this is going to be so helpful. Thank you, Kate. What's the next thing that we should know?
So the next thing builds on that, and it's how to actually collaboratively make these decisions. When devices sort of first were starting to come out and kids were getting their own phones, a lot of experts were recommending, like, you need to have a contract with your child, a device usage contract. The difficulty with that was the parents were dictating a whole series of rules and their child didn't have any input. And we know solutions are more durable and more long-term, and you're going to get way more buy-in if your kids are involved in the process. We know this about everything, but for some reason, we've disconnected the device usage and screen time from what we know to be best practice in terms of parenting. So if we can bring that back in, I'm a huge fan of family meetings. That's a whole other interview. But family meetings are a great time to talk together about what are our family's ground rules. There are certain things that I would hope families would consider regardless. Things like parents have all usernames and passwords to any devices or apps, no devices in bedrooms at night, things get shut down at least an hour before bedtime. No one in the family who is a child is allowed to delete their browser history, those kinds of things. But beyond that, there's a lot of room for collaboration and for the kids to come up with the ways that they're going to hold themselves accountable as well, rather than parents imposing arbitrary consequences and sort of taking away their phone for things that are unrelated to infringement upon screen time issues.
Wow. Oh, something I hadn't thought about was a couple things you said there. And it was, the browser history, having all the passwords. Sometimes as a parent, I feel like, is that an invasion of their privacy? And then I hesitate with that. I'm getting better with our younger kids, but I kind of hesitated way back when my oldest were in their teen years. And so can you talk about that? Like parents that just kind of get that pushback that this is an invasion of my privacy. Like, why would I give this to you? Can you just speak to that, Kate, for a second?
It's a great question. And how your kids are going to respond to that depends in large part to the kind of tone you've set in your family for other things. So if you're the kind of family where you've built a relationship with your kids that they know they can come to you when they've messed up, because they're always going to mess up, and you want them to make those mistakes while they're still living with you, and they have you as a surrogate frontal lobe. You are there to help them problem solve. You are there to help advocate for them. You are the place that they can go when they've sent something they shouldn't have sent, when they've posted something they shouldn't have posted. This spills over into adolescent drug use, into sex, into alcohol. It's pervasive across any issue you might encounter with your tween or teen. But specifically related to this, if they know that they can trust you, that you're doing this to protect them in a way that allows them to have the freedom, allows them to make the mistakes, but you're there in case they need you to help them clean something up that they're not ready for yet. And, if it was, a 13, a 14, 15, even 16-year-old, I would insist on having the passwords as a requirement for having the device. Once they're getting closer to sort of leaving high school and going off into whatever the world looks like, at that point, if they've had enough preparation, then they're ready for the training wheels to be off in that sense, because 6 months from then or a year from then, it truly will all be on them. But if you've created that type of relationship where they know coming to you might mean a consequence, but it's not going to mean shame. It's not going to mean humiliation. It's not going to mean getting screamed at and berated. It's going to change how they feel about handing over those passwords.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you, Kate. All right, you've got one more tip for us.
Well, that bled into it.
Good.
This, the last tip would be giving your kids the space and the grace to make mistakes. And to self-reflect. And again, this is connected to so many other things beyond screen time. But for example, you've got a 15-year-old who is adamant that they can still concentrate on their homework even when their cell phone is beside them. You have choices there as a parent. You could say, absolutely not. There's no way you can concentrate. Give me that phone or I'm taking it away for a week. Or you can say, I trust that you know how you learn best. So it's your call. If you think that this is going to work for you, it's your call. And let's revisit it in a week. And let's see how it's going. And if you give them the space and the grace for them to say, it's actually not working, and they know they're not going to get I told you so. See, I knew that wasn't going to work. You should have listened to me the first time. If they know that they're going to get I'm really glad that you tried it and you thought about it and you came to a decision that worked for you. How can I help you so that phone isn't so distracting for you?
Wow. Okay, I gotta go make a few changes here, as I've got piles of phones beside me. They're all here.
That's an impressive cachet.
Well, they are in class right now, but you know what? I'm gonna go give them back and trust that they know how to make these decisions on their own. And because I know my son one of my sons watches all of these interviews. I love you. I'm going to do better. And I do trust you.
Well, this is the interesting thing. What you've got there might very well be a decision your family makes together. They might say, you know what, Mom, it's better for us if you hang on to this stuff because we know we're not quite ready to do it yet.
Yeah.
And, that might be a decision that the family comes to together. And isn't it cool if the kids start to recognize and advocate for what they need, knowing they've got you there to support them and that you're in their corner?
Gosh, you've got some good stuff. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Those are the 5 steps. So let's just summarize those 5 steps real quick. Number 1.
Number 1 is understand, appreciate, and be aware of the benefits and the pitfalls of technology.
Great. Number 2.
Number 2 is connect screen time and device usage to the long-term goals of your parenting so that it doesn't become your go-to kind of reward punishment. It's part of your family's healthy, successful relationship with tech.
Awesome. Number 3.
Number 3 is use those screen time habits as an extension of your family's values. And really collaboratively look at the agenda and see what your family really does value and wants to put into the day.
Awesome. Number 4.
Collaborative problem solving and collaborative ground ruling.
Family meetings.
Family meetings. I cannot recommend them highly enough.
Okay, and number 5, Kate.
Number 5 is creating the space to self-reflect, to make mistakes, and giving grace to each other.
That's awesome. I think everything that you said today is going to be so helpful. I know it was helpful for me, so I know there's many other parents out there that will find this super helpful, even if their kids are a lot younger and screens aren't such an issue right now. Like if you know these things and you can kind of plan ahead, great. But if you're in the midst of those teen years, you've already had them on screens, there's already this friction over screens, it's not too late, and you can implement.
It's not too late. It's never too late to start talking with your kids and collaborating with your kids and problem solving together.
That is so awesome. Now, Kate, you're a parent educator, a parent coach. Can you tell us how someone would connect with you and how you work with parents?
Absolutely. So they can connect with me through my website, guidedparentingsupport.com. And a 30-minute discovery call is always free. I'm also on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and all of those links are on my website. So that's a really great place to start. I offer one-on-one or co-parent private coaching sessions. I also do small group sessions if there's family members or friends who have similar concerns and they want to work together to talk it out. And I also offer workshops and seminars.
That's so awesome. So if you are a parent and you're looking for some strategies that can work in your family, even this, short 20-25 minutes that we've been chatting here with Kate, you've given me so much. So I imagine working with you would just be so beneficial. And so if you're a parent looking for strategies, you want to find some more joy, you want to figure out your kids' behaviors, you want to just have it all running a little bit smoother, and you're looking for that parenting GPS, Kate is the one. So I'm going to leave all of your links below, Kate. I'm going to also recap those 5 steps for parents and then how they can find you at guidedparentingsupport.com. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time today, Jennifer.
Well, we'll see you again. Thanks, Kate.
Absolutely.